Hello. Today is a dedication for Mother's Day, May 9th, 2021. And it's for all of the biological mothers, stepmothers, adopted mothers, or anyone who's jumped in the mothering role to help someone along their way. This video is for you. It's in honor of you. You know, it doesn't matter what our skin color is, what language we speak, what our belief system is. Everybody has this one thing in common. We all have a mother. And when we say mother, it's jam-packed with feelings and emotions and all kinds of things. I'd like to tell you a little bit about me and my mom. My mother passed away in 2006, but for 10 years before that, I thought, I'm going to assess how I feel about my mom. And when I realized we didn't have a very good relationship at all. You see, I'd left home 20 years before that at the ripe old age of 16. Can you imagine 16 years old being on your own? And so at 18, I moved to a completely different province. And so I figured, well, we don't argue. We must be fine. But the fact was, we weren't fine. We just didn't really talk. So I thought it through, and I thought, through my own growth and development, I thought, if I want to have a loving mother, then I need to become a loving daughter first. And that's what I did. I set out to be the best daughter I could. And in the beginning, what that entailed was I chose to call her every day. You see, it was a 4 hour plane ride between where we lived in Canada. So I decided that I was going to call her every day. And so I did. So in the beginning, I'd call her and I'd go, hey, how are you, Mom? Oh, good. I've got such a headache today. Or my arthritis is acting up, or something like along those lines. And so what I decided to do was I was just going to empathize with her because I realized maybe that was her way of getting attention. So every time she told me she had something wrong, I would say, I'm sorry, Mom, you have a headache today. And it wasn't very long. It wasn't that many phone calls later that I would call her and say, how are you doing today? She goes, oh, I'm good today. And so she realized she had my attention just because she was her. And so after a few phone calls, I remember going when I was hanging up, uh, hey, Mom, I love you. And I could feel her on the other end. She's going, me too, click. And I knew I had taken her out of her comfort zone because I wasn't raised that way, to, expressing like that. And so I had also taken me out of my comfort zone as well. So, anyways, as time went on, uh, it was magical. It was like watching the most beautiful rose bloom. That was our relationship. And ultimately, I really felt that we became soulmates. I mean, it was just just amazing. We would talk about things, talk about life. She would tell me about, childhood. She would tell me about her childhood. And she told me that she always wanted to be a nurse. Well, little wonder while why I ended up going in health and wellness and being of service, because I guess it was just instilled in me from my mom. And so she told me that she wanted to be a nurse, and but at when she got in grade 8, she had to quit school because her mom, a very Catholic, staunch Catholic woman, uh, at that time you couldn't take birth control. So my mother ended up being a child of 11 in her family, and she had to quit school so she could help my grandmother help her mom with all the children. And so, she told me about some of the dreams she had that just didn't come true. And so my mom ended up being just like her mom. She ended up having 7 children. And I think about it now, and I think what a powerhouse she was, because she raised seven, not just 7 kids, but 7 good people with virtues and morals. My mom she was humble. I don't think she ever knew the powerhouse that she truly, truly was. She just did what she knew best, to be a mom. And I really appreciate her more even now than ever for that. Because now I realize that she instilled so many great qualities into us, her children. And we went on to pass that on as well. One of the things I am so grateful for is that I made that decision so many years ago to become a loving daughter first. I could have just went down and said, well, she doesn't really call me. Why should I call her? I didn't want that. I just saw the end result of what I wanted. And what I really wanted was to have a loving mom. And by taking the first step and becoming a loving daughter, even if it was just as simple as calling every day, just to say, hi, how are you? How's the weather? What's for dinner? Something like that. But it was so interesting because throughout these conversations, it got to a point where my mom became kind of mushy. She would say, I love you. Or I remember one time she says, you're my baby. The fact is, I was her oldest child, her oldest girl. But the thing is, that's how she saw me. And I think because we were on the phone, it kind of created the safety net for her where she could express herself. I wasn't right in front of her. And I was good with that. So I guess when I think about my mom, I think about all the virtues that she displayed. Patience. I think she was just waiting in the wings for me to get comfortable with myself and to call her. She was always waiting there for me. I now know that. And humility, like I said. I don't think she ever really knew how magnificent she was and how powerful she was. She's still powerful. I feel her around me all the time. She had such a huge energy. She was this tiny little woman, kind of quiet, but still big, powerful energy. And I would say one of the biggest things that she displayed was courage. You know, courage isn't getting rid of fear. It's about stepping over it and doing what you need to do, what you feel you uh, would be for your benefit, for your children's benefit. I'm sure there were days when my mother was raising seven of us basically alone, where she would just want to stay in bed and not get up. But she put on that coat of courage every single day. And we went through some hardships. I remember a time when we had no food. And for many years, we didn't have indoor plumbing. I know you think, oh, did you grow up in a third world country? No, I grew up here in Canada. We back in the 50s, we didn't have that. We didn't have electricity for the longest time. We had a wood stove. So my mother was the one that would get up at 5:30, 6 o'clock every day and light the wood stove so she could make us all breakfast so we could get up and go to school. There's so many things when I think about how my mother lived and the things she did to make sure that we had a good home. I she became in my life for the last 10 years before she passed. She truly became my hero because I started realizing the immense woman that she was. I think the one thing I'm the most grateful for is that I actually had the insight to build a good relationship with my mom before she actually passed away and transitioned to heaven. I'm assuming she's in heaven because she's probably a saint. So I guess why I'm telling you all this is if you have a mother, biological stepmother, a mother of any sort, someone who acts like your mother, I ask you today to think about them and to contact them and just tell them you love them. Because it's a lot nicer to do that while you can still connect with them on the planet. And just tell them how you feel and what you appreciate about them and the gifts that they've given you. Just the little things. I think it's really important to do that while they're here. And you never know what what you put out comes back. And I think it's a lot nicer to appreciate and love someone than it is something else. So thank you so much for being with me today. And again, I wish everybody a happy Mother's Day. And if you'd like to know more about courage or humility or patience, you can always check out my book, 31 Virtues, on Amazon.ca or audibles.com. Thank you so much. And if you have any kind of comments, questions, or suggestions, please feel free to let me know. I'm always open. Thank you. Happy Mother's Day.